What's up, everybody? I'm Katie.
And I'm Morgan.
And this is For Your Misinformation, a podcast dedicated to empowering women to become more politically engaged so we can act in our own best interest.
Let us identify the problem and tell you what we're doing and what you can do to help solve it.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi, Katie.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, we're social distancing still. We are still really in the midst of it, but I feel like I'm doing better this week than last week.
Good.
I've kind of gotten into a groove, gotten into a routine.
Nice.
Made myself get outside every single day, at
Good.
least twice. How are you doing?
That's impressive. I had a bad day yesterday. I stayed up really late and then slept really late and then didn't eat anything until 5 and was surprised when I was grumpy and then I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to do better. So I went to bed at a reasonable hour, woke up at a reasonable hour. I showered for this. I straightened my hair for this and I put on mascara for this. So
Look at you.
yeah, I could not bring myself to put on a bra, but whatever.
Yeah. Besides, when I'm working out, putting on a sports bra, I haven't worn a bra in 2 weeks.
Good. I don't know how we're ever going to go back.
No.
I hope we don't. I hope we don't go back.
Same. I could be working in sweatpants all of this time.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
My productivity has not changed. So
good. Okay. Well, I'm glad we're both doing better. I was thinking about maybe starting off with a couple Corona updates, and if you wanted to give any too, and then we could get into today's topic. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about evangelical Christianity. It might sound like it doesn't have anything to do with politics, but it really, really does. Kind of a scary amount. But before we get to that, some things to remember when you're trying to figure out why Trump is acting the way that he's acting is, one, he's a narcissist. So he only thinks about himself. Interestingly enough, a lot of evangelical pastors are also narcissists. It's just that kind of, Morgan's nodding her head. It's just that kind of personality that attracts cults, that's just how, which we'll talk about it in a little bit. And I'm not calling all religion a cult. I do believe evangelical Christianity is a cult. So he's a narcissist, so he only thinks about himself. Two, every decision he makes is because he wants/needs to be reelected, because you can't indict a sitting president. So as long as he's president, he can't be indicted for all of his crimes. And as soon as he's out of office, the state of New York can indict him. So he really, really needs to stay president. So all of these decisions that he's making around coronavirus are to try and make the economy stay good. Well, I mean, hey, also, by the way, remember when you called a couple episodes ago that there was going to be a recession and now there's a recession?
Yeah.
You're like Nostradamus.
I can see the future.
Yeah.
It ain't pretty, people.
Yeah, listen to
There's
Morgan.
a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a really scary tunnel, okay?
Yeah, I hate this tunnel.
Yeah, it's a long and scary one.
Yeah. And then 3 is just that every day he's trying to make it through the day. There's no long-term thinking or logic, even just in those individual press briefings, he's just trying to get through it. There's no long-term thinking or logic. So when he's talking about reopening the country and that is all because he hopes that he gets to be reelected. It doesn't have anything to do with science or anything like that. So his White House press briefings, they suck. Please don't watch them. If you do watch them or you see clips of them, you can trust Dr. Fauci, who is the short, smart guy that we've talked about before. And you can kind of trust Dr. Birx, who's the tall, smart woman. They're the experts up there. The other people on stage are generally Trump cronies who don't know what's going on, should not be listening to them. Sometimes Mike Pompeo has been up there. Attorney General Barr has been up there.
Ugh.
We have which we have episodes about both of them if you want to hear about how slimy they are. But and then Steve Mnuchin has been up there lately, and we haven't talked about him yet, but like he could absolutely have his own episode about just how gross he is.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah. But it's becoming increasingly hard for Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx to tell the truth, because if they say something that upsets Trump, he's just going to stop letting them speak at the briefings at all, which is like really sad, really scary. That's what happens when you have a narcissist in charge. Like that narcissism hides incredible insecurity. So whenever they're challenged, like they react like that. Everybody around them has to walk on eggshells. It's gross. But Andrew Cuomo's press briefings are much, much better. So if you want to watch press briefings, like what you're craving right now is information, like accurate information. And that's what Andrew Cuomo is giving. Like when I did that interview with the emergency preparedness coordinator, and we were talking about how messed up the responses has been to this crisis on the federal level, and like what a press conference should look like Cuomo's press briefings are exactly like what they should be. They're like reliable and transparent, so that's really good. And then the last corona update that I had is that officially the $2 trillion relief package that was negotiated by Senate Democrats and Republicans passed unanimously in the Senate, which means it now moves on to the House. It includes direct payments of $1,200 to taxpayers, expanded unemployment benefits, and hundreds of billions in loans to businesses. I want to point out the good work that Bernie Sanders did to get some provisions in there for like freelancers and other individuals who it might have been excluded, like gig economy workers or whatever. And then also Elizabeth Warren put in some provisions for oversight so that like there isn't a bunch of corruption going on with those hundreds of billions of dollars in loans to businesses. They're actually going to be held accountable. It's not just a slush fund that Steve Mnuchin can spend however he wants to spend. So thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for existing. I hope one of you or both of you gets to be president, and that this country doesn't end before that happens. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to add about coronavirus?
I mean, just like the thing that's keeping me going and like the thing that's giving me a little bit of positivity in all of this is focusing on not focusing on the press conferences that Trump is giving, which are just bullshit, and just focusing on the people who are actual experts and people we can trust, listening to webinars and podcasts by people who not only know what they're talking about, but don't have like a political agenda to make Trump look like Jesus through all of this or something. And, I've also just really noticed, even just in the past couple of days, like when I go for a run or go for a walk with my dogs, I'm seeing people doing a much better job of social distancing.
Good.
And so that's making me happy. And, keep doing that, everyone, and keep reminding the people in your life to continue doing that. Be like an example they can follow. Yeah. Give people ideas on ways that they can still, not be completely isolated. Like you can be physically distant without being completely socially distant, right? Yeah. Help your grandparents and parents get on Zoom or Skype or whatever. Make it so that people are less tempted to go do something stupid, like, gather in groups of more than 3.
Yeah.
Do what you can, especially, because as this goes on, it is going to get harder and it could go on for a very long time.
Yeah.
We don't know.
It will go on until there's a vaccine, and there won't be a vaccine for like 12 to 18 months. Like there will probably be periods of like various levels of like social distancing and social isolation until we have a vaccine. So like we may start to open some stuff up, but then if outbreaks get too large and the hospital systems get close to capacity again, we'll have to go back to social distancing. So don't be surprised if that happens, if that's what the next like year and a half looks like.
Yeah. And, you know, if you want to help out, find out what your local hospitals need, find out, you know, what people in your life or in your neighborhood might need. There are organizations you can donate to or volunteer with that need help right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot, you know, and obviously not everybody's going to be able to do that because a lot of people are unemployed right now.
Yeah.
But
I talk about, I'll mention a Chicago mutual aid thing that people can do later. And there's probably also mutual aid organizations or somebody organizing mutual aid in your community too. My two favorite podcasts that I've been getting information about coronavirus is America Dissected with Abdul Al-Sayed, who's a doctor. He explains it in an awesome way. He's also an epidemiologist. And then from This Podcast Will Kill You, those very smart women who both just happen to be named Erin. They have a whole like second season or season dedicated just to coronavirus. So if you want just the amount that you need to know, listen to this podcast. If you want more than that and you just can't get enough about it and you want to make sure that you're getting like reliable information, those two are really, really good. I like both of them a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. And just continue to wash your hands, stay away from people. If you're sick, until you're actually like sure that you're like sick, maybe with this, like don't have to rush to a hospital or anything right now. I know that sounds really negative and awful, but
no, it's
call your local health department and find out if you can get tested. Don't show up at your primary care physician's office.
Yeah, for sure.
They can't help you.
Nope.
With this. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about evangelical Christianity?
Let's talk about evangelical Christianity.
So we've never talked about this before, but like, what is your relationship with religion?
Yeah, we haven't talked about this before. It's actually kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is like a big thing for me. And yeah, so I feel like I have a complicated relationship with religion because I am a Christian. I am a like proud member of the Christian left. And sometimes in like certain circles, even with like the closest people in my life, they like forget that and they're will say something and I'll just be like, oh, hey, you know, no, I can't. I got church in the morning. And they're like, oh, whoops. But no, it's fine because again, like hashtag not all Christians or whatever.
For sure. There are plenty of like really great groups of faith within Christianity.
And so I have a like I feel like really good relationship with my faith. I have a good relationship with Jesus and with the church as I experience it with like my particular church. But like it's a complicated relationship because I also see so many flaws in Christianity and all religion, but I don't have hardly any experience whatsoever with any religions outside my own. You know, the one I was raised in. So obviously like I'm not gonna be the person to speak on that, but yeah, like if people ever have questions about what that means, like I mean, I've definitely had a friend before say, what is the Christian left? Does that even exist? Is that a real thing? I think that's something you made up. I'm like, no, like we even have a Facebook group. Come on.
then it's real. It's really real.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like people can definitely reach out to us on social media or me personally or something too. If they're like, I don't even know what that means, but I'm interested.
Yeah.
I am not super public about it because I don't want people to think I'm trying to be an evangelical because I'm not. However, it's an important part of my life that I'm happy to talk about the complicatedness of being a liberal and a Christian.
Yeah.
And I guess like if I had to sum it up more succinctly than what I just did. It's that religion is important to this country and a lot of countries culturally and historically. And religion is political, but religion is not partisan.
Yeah.
And that's why things like separation of church and state and whatnot are so important.
Yeah.
And that's my TED Talk, right?
That sounds good. I never, like, I don't know why. I just never cared about religion. Like, I went to a Christian preschool. My mom says I used to know all the like Bible stories. I would often sleep over at my best friend's house, and then we'd go to church on Sundays at a Lutheran church, which I didn't mind doing at all. But I feel like I realized like pretty early that there's no right answer. Like nobody knows. Like so I just was like, well, it's not gonna impact how I'm living my life day to day, so I'm not going to worry about it. Like I cannot reach a conclusion. So like I'm just going to keep doing the stuff that I think is right, and like hopefully that's cool. Like I don't know. I went on a really, really, really bad first date once with a guy. I showed up and then he told me it was his birthday. First of all, no thank you. First date, like lots of pressure.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then could not like take my hints that I was like ready to go. Like we shut the restaurant down. We were there for like 3 hours. And the whole time he kept like pressuring me to put like a label on how I felt about religion, because he was like very much an atheist. And I was just like, dude, I can't give it to you. I just don't care. Like it doesn't. And he was like, well, then I think you're probably an agnostic atheist. And I was like, why? Okay, like I don't care. Like I wish you would drop it. Like please let me go home.
Oh my gosh, I hate that. Faith is so deeply personal, and not having like what people would call faith is still deeply personal.
Yeah.
Like what is
We did not go on a second date, don't worry.
Good girl.
Yeah. He was 6'5" though, so, you know.
He had something going for him at least.
So yeah, so I have no problem with most religions. I just never think about it. But I do have a problem with people who like think they can tell other people what to do, which is, I feel like how evangelical Christians are. Right? They're trying to convince other people to join their faith. Right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like, I don't know. It's almost like all of the evangelical or like televangelists and stuff. It's like they're constantly holding campaign rallies.
Yes.
For their idea of Jesus.
Yes.
For their specific, like, this is my blonde hair, blue-eyed, white skin.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And there's lots of problems with that. Like lots.
Yeah.
So evangelicals are a huge portion of Trump's base, which is on purpose. He like courts them. It's not a coincidence that Trump wants to reopen the country on Easter. He's trying to like signal to evangelical Christians that like he is their Messiah and he's like got their back. Which like, don't fucking do that, by the way. Even if your like Republican governor says it's cool to go back to work on Easter, don't go back to work. Don't go to church. Stop it. We are social distancing. We have a president who is like wholly unfit for office. Stop listening to what he says. Don't go anywhere on Easter.
Don't gather in big crowds.
Yeah.
What? No.
Stop it.
You will not rise 3 days later if you all gather together in crowds of thousands at mega churches on Easter.
Good points. Good points. So evangelical Christians believe the Bible is literally true and that it lays out like word for word, and that it lays out a roadmap for the future with 100% accuracy. So just a reminder that the Bible starts with a talking snake. So again, evangelical Christians believe the Bible is literally true. So guess we got talking snakes, and people are now like 900 to 1,000 years old. But they're an apocalyptic cult that is waiting for Jesus to come back and for the world to end. So like they think that the Bible lays out several different things that have to happen before that happens. And one of those things, they teach like Zionism, and I think one of them is that like the Jews will return to Jerusalem, and when that happens, that's like one of the boxes that needs to get checked off before God's people. Okay, this is not my thing. I did do a bunch of research, but man, write to me for sure on Instagram. If you have questions about religion, write to Morgan. If I say shit wrong, message me on Instagram and let me know. So I don't know. But anyway, there's all these like boxes that need to get checked off before Jesus can come back, the second coming of Jesus, which then all the like real Christians will get saved, and all of the bad people, which to them is poor people and black and brown people, will go away, basically. I think of it as a multi-level marketing scheme, honestly. Like that is like what it seems most like to me.
A lot of them are.
Yes. So
a lot of them are like the owners of MLM companies, or at the very least, they're shills for their friend Betsy's.
Yeah. And yeah, it's gross. It's super gross. So they preach that like every dollar you give to the church will return back to you as good fortune, which to them means money. They think that like wealth and stuff like that, it's called prosperity gospel, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But yeah, they basically feel like if God favors you, you'll become rich.
Yeah, they will like basically like try to neg people into donating themselves into poverty for their church, so that their cult leader can have a jet mansion.
Or a mega mansion,
a private jet. And it's disgusting because it's predatory. It's like an MLM.
They're frauds like Trump. So this didn't like come out of nowhere. As church attendance has declined and the church population is aging, these like really conservative churches have been forced to merge and become larger, more evangelical type services. So they're the ones with like the modern music and like my friend Anna told me this, but she said they're like I'm wearing a Patagonia vest and I'm your pastor, like those kind of guys, which I thought was very funny. So these are the evangelical wing that voted for the president, and also the ones that you see like all sorts of scandals come out about, like Willow Creek and Hillsong. These scandals range from embezzlement to sexual assault. It's really sad. Think of like the Duggars. Like the Duggars are evangelical Christians. And just to remind everybody, the oldest brother molested his younger sisters and got in no trouble for it. None at all, because they believe that it's the girls that must have done something to provoke the brother. They basically participate in victim blaming, which we don't on this pod.
No.
So actually, speaking of that, I live across this. You know this. Maybe you don't. I live across the street from an evangelical pastor who was so bad that he got kicked out of his congregation because he sexually assaulted like 22 women or something like that, and like that was even too bad for them. So I forget, Institute of Basic Life Principles. Look that shit up. It's crazy. It's like the craziest cult that nobody's ever heard of. But that guy, Bill Gothard, lives right across the street from me, and it's crazy. So yeah, it's bad stuff. I don't know. And a lot of it is about power, and I don't know, just like with everything else that we talk about, but yeah. It also kind of started so that was like one part of it, is that the church like numbers started dwindling. So they had to like merge with, so these really these really like religious conservative groups had to merge with these like bigger mega churches that do all the like singing and blah, blah, blah. So, as a reaction to the civil rights movement, where Martin Luther King Jr. called for racial justice based on the Bible's teaching, white identifying evangelical leaders like Jerry Falwell and other megachurch pastors created a Christian cult that worships white supremacy and hypercapitalism. I don't say that lightly, but that is what evangelical Christianity is. They worship white supremacy and hypercapitalism. So they now see Donald Trump as a messiah, and many of them see this pandemic as like a holy plague, in that like they'll survive and the bad people will go away.
Yeah, spoiler, it's not.
Yeah, that's just not how stuff works. So even more fucked up, pastors from these megachurches regularly meet with and advise President Trump. And Vice President Pence and Mike Pompeo, who you've talked about before, both identify as evangelical Christians. So much for, I mean, you can be a Christian and like not have that impact any part of your job, but they don't. So much for separation of church and state.
Yeah. Like, your faith should not be intertwined with your political agenda or your politics.
Yeah.
It should not. Like, again, religion is political. It's not partisan. So you need to keep those two things separate. It's like if your relationship with your own parents was your biggest guiding factor in the legislation you were or were not passing, we would be like, hey, that's really weird. Maybe you shouldn't be trying to pass this law that specifically is only impacting like your family.
Yeah.
And
well, it's like basing it on your horoscope or something.
Yeah.
Like it's
just not what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And especially like as a Christian, I have had, over my lifetime, like a lot of different pastors and religious mentors and read a lot of different books, and none of them, like not even the people I know who have literal PhDs in religious studies, like they are doctors in this, will ever claim to know everything about the Bible or know everything about what it's saying.
Good.
Like,
that's good.
Because the people that because they're good people and they're smart people and they recognize that, like, hey, this is everything that we have studied, and whatnot and what we know, but also like the Bible is a very complex document. Like it's so much more nuanced than just like opening a page and picking a line out of it and being like, well, the scripture says this, so we got to make sure that women don't have access to abortion or get paid the same as men, or that brown people are respected because my Jesus is no. Like,
did you read?
If anybody is ever trying to say something like that, you need to stop listening to that person.
Yeah. Have you read Educated by Tara Westover?
I picked it up and read the cover and decided someday I would read it, but then I need to get through some of the stack of books that I already have before I get there.
Okay, fair. I do think you should read it eventually, but their family I don't know. It's just like the perfect example of like what can go wrong if you base too much of your life on like literal Bible interpretations and you have a narcissistic head of your household. So
yeah, you can't interpret a whole lot out of the Bible literally. Some of it, a lot of it, no.
Yeah.
That's just not how it works. And if we're interpreting it literally, then fine. Okay, well, in one spot it says something about, well, we gotta hate women, but another spot it tells you that, like, if you, sir, catch yourself lusting over a woman, you should cut your own eye right out of your head. And if you touch her with your hand, well, your hand caused you to sin, you should chop that right off. Maybe that's why Mike Pence, like, won't have dinner or, be in a professional meeting with a woman, because he's taking it that literally and thinks that if he's in a room with another female, he's going to have to, like, I don't know, gouge out his own eyeball. But, like, this is why we don't take the Bible literally.
Yeah. So Jerry Falwell's ultra-Christian Liberty University is asking all 5,000 students to return to school next week. Like, no other universities are doing this, but Liberty University is. So like, as always, they're basing this on nothing. They're basing it on wanting to appease Trump and just not ever listening to science or experts. It's infuriating, but it's just how evangelical Christians operate. But the part that I found that was like the most fucked up is that because of the evangelical Christian influence on our current president and a lot of other higher ups in our federal government, foreign policy is now being based on certain Bible interpretations, which is just insane. But the best summary I can come up with is that evangelical Christians are pro-Israel because they think that the Bible tells them that they should be. It says that God will favor people who are pro-Israel. So Trump moved the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was to appease evangelical Christians who think that it gets them one step closer to bringing Jesus back / the world ending, which, like I mentioned earlier, would be like basing healthcare policy on your fucking horoscope. Bless you.
I tried to cover that.
No, I think you did good. But yeah, it's nuts. Like, more evangelical Christians were in favor of that policy than Jews were. And like that, it's crazy. Yeah. And everybody should have a problem with foreign policy being based on Bible interpretations. Like, it's nuts. And it's why Israel gets away with so much like aggression and stuff like that. Like, they have taken over, God, again, like, I should not be talking about this. I don't know enough about it, but they've taken over a lot of parts of Palestine. Well,
look how hypocritical it is then when we look at a country that is not a Christian dominant country that is doing the same thing and basing any type of policy off of their own religious interpretation of, their text, like the Quran. And then we're like, oh my gosh, we should kill them all, hate them.
Barbarians.
They're the evil. They're that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what? We are doing the same thing. Yeah. Like, that's very hypocritical and like, just stop it.
So people like to do that because they want things to be black and white. They want them to be good and evil. They want in groups and out groups. It's much easier to be like this bad, this good, but almost nothing is that simple. Everything is more nuanced than that.
And including the Bible.
Yes. And like, it's harder to hold that in your head, but it's the truth. So sorry. I don't know.
Truth hurts, man.
Truth hurts. Okay.
Also, the Bible says in it so many times, I mean, in short, just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Like, it says that so many times. And I'm like, have any of you people actually read this with any thoughts in your mind that are not thoughts of either just straight pure evil or straight pure stupidity or a combination of both? Or like, are you approaching this with a whole like, okay, well, what in here will benefit me?
Yeah. It's
back to the narcissism.
Yeah. It's like reverse engineered that way to benefit them.
Yeah.
But it is weird how it started with like Martin Luther King. Well, sorry, not evangelical Christianity, but like at the time when it was getting more powerful, it was like caused in part by Martin Luther King Jr. talking about the Bible's teachings about like social justice and racial justice and stuff like that. The way that I interpret it, and I believe it.
I love that part.
Yeah. And evangelical Christians at the same time are like, no. We believe in the prosperity gospel.
Yeah. Well, and also MLK was like he would be definitely a Bernie fan if he was alive today.
Sure.
Like, he was very anti-capitalism. Yeah. Like, MLK was not messing around. He was not here to support your like capitalist, let's make the rich get richer agenda. He was like, no.
Didn't he start the Poor People's Party? Wasn't that the party he started?
Have to fact check that, but I think yes.
Yeah, maybe. We'll do like a corrections corner next week. We probably won't, but
yeah, like MLK was not shy about being like, no, capitalism sucks and it's evil and it's hurting people in this country and the world, and Jesus says so. Mm-hmm. Jesus also famously a socialist. Mm-hmm. And like, but we only in school ever learn about MLK being peaceful and MLK being, you know, a minister who's like preaching gospel and stuff, you know, when we talk about him in the church. But we never talk about those other parts, about the fact that he was a radical. Yeah. And that's part of, you know, what makes him so awesome. But it's also something that we don't talk about, which is bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, everything we learn in school is like the wrong thing. You have to undo so much of what you learn. I don't know. It's just, or put it in proper context, basically, is just what you have to do. Mm-hmm. So the prosperity gospel. So have you ever dated somebody who's really religious?
I've dated a lot of like people who like say they're really religious, but they really only like adhere to it when it suits them. Which is like super shitty.
Yeah. I, for whatever reason, have dated two like very religious people. One who was definitely an evangelical. Now looking back, I can see that he was an evangelical. He was homeschooled. In his basement, like when we were like playing ping pong, I found like a science book that talked about how the world was 6,000 years old, and like that's the only science class he's ever taken. You know, like he had sex ed in a church. Like his mom drove him to a church, and they talked about what wet dreams are, and then like that was it. Like, oh gosh. And they believed in the prosperity gospel, which is basically that the accrual of wealth and power is a sign of God's favor. When really,
no, it's not. Jesus hated rich people.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to set the record straight once and for all. Kevin is hugely based on this person. Not entirely. He's an amalgamation of a lot of people, but he is in very large part based on this person who just so happened to be an evangelical Christian and was always lying to me. But anyway, like prosperity is not a sign of God's favor. It is probably just a sign that your parents are white and you were born into generational wealth. Like that is much more likely than the fact that God is favoring you because of whatever.
Yep, that sounds accurate.
Yeah. And on that note, I want to read a Sarah Kendzior quote that I put in my Instagram stories, but I think is really important. Again, Sarah Kendzior is one of our favorite journalists and authors. She has a new book coming out soon, and she's also the co-host of a podcast called Gaslit Nation, which is fucking fascinating. But also, if you don't want to add a depressing podcast to your list, I will summarize the important points for you here. But her quote is, "When wealth is passed off as merit, bad luck is seen as bad character. This is how ideologues justify punishing the sick and the poor. But poverty is neither a crime nor a character flaw. Stigmatize those who let people die, not those who struggle to live." And I don't know. I just think she like hits the nail on the head. She nails it.
Yeah, it exactly hits the nail on the head. And that's the whole problem with this whole prosperity gospel thing.
Yeah.
And especially because it really truly is the opposite of our brown socialist Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, and which is why it's just so mind-boggling to me. And honestly, like growing up, I didn't even know those kinds of people existed. Mm-hmm. I was in college before I learned about them, and I didn't really realize how problematic they were until even after college, I think, when I finally realized how just completely insane it is, how much money there is, how much influence they have over our government. And yeah, like it made me so angry. It like briefly caused kind of like a very uncomfortable thing for me, and like being ashamed to even be affiliated, you know, with Christianity or anything. And like, we're good now, but yeah, for a while I was like, what is going on here? You know, we all like went to Sunday school and heard the same story about the Good Samaritan helping a stranger,
Right.
even though like they were supposed to be enemies because they, you know, and like it's like, yeah, we all heard that story and we're like, wow, we should all live that way. And also we all read that thing where it said like if you don't help strangers and refugees and such that you'll face eternal punishment. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, let's put kids in cages then.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm so nervous for when Corona is going to get to those ICE detention facilities because they didn't even give them fucking flu shots. So like it's not, I mean, I know that there's no vaccine for coronavirus. I just mean like they already didn't care about like the health and hygiene of those people because what Trump does and what is he makes them less than. He talks about them as like vermin and stuff like that. And then other people get comfortable treating them as less than human. So I don't know. I mean, I'm really worried about what's going on in those or what is about to happen. And in prisons too. I mean, Rikers has like a big outbreak right now. And it is, I don't know. These are all like topics for another day, I guess. But like abolish ICE, let people... Let like nonviolent criminals and especially like marijuana charges out of fucking prisons because it's legal now. I mean, it's always been legal for white people, but
okay. Also, like in the states where you know it is legal, the cannabis shops are open right now because they're deemed as essential.
Yeah, that's true.
Imagine your loved one or yourself sitting in a jail cell.
Yeah,
because of something that now is deemed essential that you were caught with. You were caught selling something that we consider to be essential, but instead, because you're in the wrong state or because you were there at the wrong time, you are sitting in a jail cell right now.
It's just like confirmation that it was racism the whole time. Like, it was never not that. So
it was never about the drugs.
Was there anything that we didn't get to about about evangelical Christianity before we move on to other stuff?
Just that it's awful. And yeah, like if you are a Christian, you know, don't like stop being yourself and stop being a Christian because you find out that these horrible, terrible people exist, but instead like fight from within, right? Like, make sure you're aligning yourself with progressive Christian organizations and make sure that the people and the organizations you are associating with aren't the ones that are actually hiding behind this, like, oh, we're loving Christians lens, but actually they're not, right? I have, you know, almost been a part of, or even been briefly a part of a lot of groups that I like. Once I actually was like, we're looking at this, found out that, oh, they don't allow women to have positions of leadership.
Cool.
Oh, all of their like serving the community is only for like white people and like things like that. I was like, that's not cool. Or it's, well, we do a mission trip every year, but it's actually one of those mission trips that's like we go to like Haiti for a week and take a bunch of pictures with like these poor children.
White saviors.
Like, none of that.
I was thinking, okay, when you mentioned that they do like charity work, but they only give it out to white people, I was thinking about that today in relation to what's going on with the Defense Production Act. And
it's gross.
So what that is, if you're not familiar, and I didn't write anything about this is all off the top of my head, so I hope I'm right, but in like extreme emergencies or wartime or whatever, the president can invoke the Defense Production Act and he can order private companies to make certain goods. So he did invoke that act, but then some of his corporate buddies asked him not to do that. So like, for example, he could have ordered like Trojan to make medical gloves instead of condoms because there's a shortage of gloves. And he could have ordered another company to make gowns, and another company to make swabs, and another company to make whatever. Like, it's not that complicated. So that we had an actual like united front and a coordinated approach to this. Instead, he didn't do that. And instead, states are like bidding against each other over masks and hoarding them, kind of like people are hoarding toilet paper. Meanwhile, other hospitals have no masks at all. So I don't know. That's why like it should be up to the federal government to coordinate this response so that everybody is allocated what they need properly, instead of just like relying on corporations to like piecemeal put together like, well, I think I can do this and I think I can do this. It's like if you were having a potluck and like all your friends were coming over, you would be like, hey, can you bring a main dish and can you bring ice and can you bring drinks? You wouldn't be like, okay guys, just like show up whenever, and then everybody shows up with brownies and it's like, wait, brownies are good, but we also need a main course.
Yeah, like, and then half the people don't show up with anything at all because they were like, well, I didn't have to.
Okay, I came up with that off the top of my head, and it's exactly right.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's like the worst potluck you've ever been to.
Yeah, because people die if you bring the wrong shit.
Yeah,
it's sad. I don't know. So yeah, I'm
so mad.
I'm fine with people finding comfort in religion. I am not cool with people telling other people what to do or using that to shape actual fucking foreign policy. It's bananas.
Yeah, and also these fake Christians just like make people like me like really fucking pissed off.
I mean, yeah, I kind of how like we're often embarrassed by other white people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like being embarrassed by other white people, or when you're embarrassed by other women, and you're like, really? The internal misogyny is a real disease here. It's very similar to that, and I'm just like, wow, really? Like,
ugh. So, but my sincere hope is that our country will learn from this and make a major shift towards science and evidence-based policies, because like climate change is just as big of a deal as this pandemic. It's just like moving in slower motion. And we're seeing now that like we can make big behavioral changes and policy changes to help with climate change, same as we can make individual and behavioral changes to help with this pandemic. It's just like the actual like willingness has to be there, and it like we should all let this opportunity radicalize us to understand that like there's like unacceptable inequality in this country right now.
Yeah, and across the whole world. I mean, we look at what a shit show this pandemic is here. Now imagine that you're in a country right now that is experiencing war, like Syria, like our episode last week, right? Or a country where the medical infrastructure is even worse than it is in the United States, which like we've got medical infrastructure that's pretty freaking good here compared to a lot of the world, and they are still going to be affected by this pandemic, and that's not good. That's not cool. That shouldn't be okay. And like they're also like vulnerable people, and these types of like evangelical nutwings, those are their favorite type of people to prey upon, are vulnerable people. And that also makes me very extra angry at them. And, you know, like, I don't want to be like, stay woke, keep your eyes open, like a conspiracy theorist, but also like kind of, because that's when they strike. Same with the MLM people right now. Do you know the number of Huns on my Facebook who are like, oh my gosh, if anybody's lost their job right now because of this coronavirus, it would be a great time for you to talk to me about how you can be your own boss, babe. Emoji, emoji, emoji. And I'm like, what is wrong with you?
That reminds me, the like evangelical guy that I dated, his mom was in a multi-level marketing scheme. I forgot about that. I forgot. Oh my God. Okay.
I was in an MLM, and
what?
yeah, when I was in college, started maybe I was, yeah, real obsessed with Jesus for a while in college. And I mean, like, I still love Jesus, but yeah, I was borderline obsessed in college. It's fine. But yeah, and I had this really good friend, and she approached me about an MLM. And I was like, I don't know, this is kind of weird. And then she was just talking about how much better it's made her life and all of this. So I was like, yeah, sure. And then obviously it crashed and burned and was terrible. And later my mom was like, yeah, well, we didn't think it was a good idea. And I'm like, Mom and Dad, that's when you should tell 20-year-old or 19-year-old me what to not do, which was that. But okay, cool. Yeah. And later this friend like emailed me or texted me or something and was just like, hey, like, I'm really sorry that I pulled you into that. Like, it was wrong.
That's nice.
I have seen, yeah, like, she totally was like, that was wrong. I've seen the light. Like, I just got so wrapped up in it, and it destroyed my marriage, and it destroyed my life, and I'm sorry that I did basically the same thing to you, minus the marriage. And yeah, like, so it was really nice of her to reach out later after the fact and be like, hey, sorry, I like almost ruined your life. If it helps, it ruined mine even more. And I'm like, I mean, it kind of helps, but yeah, like, and it was kind of the same kind of thing, right? Like, she got into it when she was super vulnerable because it preyed on her and her husband, like, right after they got married and are navigating this whole like crazy life of like, like, I don't know how to do my life right now, married to this other person, and we're newlyweds and we're poor and we just got out of college. And then another friend of mine who had just like gotten really badly injured, like she like fractured her back, and that's when they got her into it. And then I got into it through her at the same time when I was dealing with like chronic illness and an injury, and my life was kind of going to hell. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, it really does. All of these things prey on the vulnerable. And God, that's shitty.
It sure is.
And Jesus hates it.
He does. No question about that. Yeah. So what actions have you taken or are you going to take this week to kind of make whatever better? Your choice of whatever. I don't know.
I mean, my biggest thing is just making sure that I'm like keeping in touch with people for my own sanity, their own sanity, and making sure that like members of my family and my friends and people I work with and stuff are also only taking in like good information and those kinds of things. And obviously, like, you don't completely have control over that and about with everyone, but you know, somebody like that I know said something about like, oh, well, there's this, they found a cure for the coronavirus. It's this Chlorinique. What was it? And I'm like, no, it is not a cure for the coronavirus. Stop listening to anything Donald Trump says. And
or it'll go away in the summer. There's no sign, proof that is the case. It may lighten up a little bit because some other coronaviruses do, but like, that is not a factual thing that you can be should be sharing.
And so just
being like, oh, well,
like
there's
that.
A vaccine, like, and it's like, oh, there's a vaccine that will take 12 to 18 months before it's actually available to get shot into any of our arms. So like,
and we need that. We need that.
That's when we'll be able to go back to real life. When we can test for immunity and when we can vaccinate.
So I'm just making sure I do things like that. And then I'm reading more than I was before.
Good.
And like one of the books that I'm reading, because I can only, read only, 4 or 5 at a time. I can't just read one. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but it's about the brain. And I'm just finding that really interesting because, like, I love learning new things and learning about the brain, especially in this time when at least half of our country seems to have brains that are just completely broken. Is kind of nice, and also led me to really overanalyze and think way too hard about the Tiger King. Week, and what's going on in the brains of all of those people on that show.
Good question. They're probably narcissists.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they're narcissists. Kind of doing like, it was just what I think that was most fascinating about that too is like they all, much like evangelicals, think they are doing the right thing. Every single one of them is absolutely certain they're doing the right thing, and that what they're doing is something out of love, right? Like Carol Baskin,
oh my God.
who allegedly murdered her husband. Who knows? But
dude, she totally murdered her husband.
Yeah, she totally murdered her husband.
One of her tigers, or several of her tigers, definitely ate her husband.
Yeah.
I just don't see how else that story could possibly end.
Yeah, she so much thinks she is like the saint. She does. She's doing the right thing. She thinks she loves these animals, and it's so much like a lot of these evangelicals and the people that they have brought into their cult, right? Like they are like, nope, I am doing the right thing. I am a person with a heart full of love for Jesus and other people, cough, cough, white people. But you know, like they're just so sure of it, and that they cannot even see how harmful they're being.
Yeah, and people are attracted to that. People are attracted to people who know the answer. And Donald Trump acts like he knows the answer. He's always fucking wrong, but like people are attracted to that confidence, and they're like, oh, he makes it simple.
Yeah, and he's obnoxious about it, much like Joe Exotic. Like, it's obnoxious and it's a spectacle, and you get caught up in it, and you kind of want to be a part of it because it's fun, and that you kind of forget to actually like think, or you know, you're just not there to be critical, and you shut that part of your brain off. So that's been really interesting.
Have you ever dated a narcissist?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
I have dated one. I mean, there's like a spectrum.
The one that I broke up with when it was Halloween after a party wearing matching costumes. No.
Damn.
This was Halloween. We were in the street. It was raining. We were in matching ridiculous Halloween costumes. And the conversation at the party had turned to politics. And somebody said something that like wasn't wrong, but he didn't agree with it. And we were like walking home, and he's just like, "Did you hear that guy said?" I'm like, well, he wasn't really wrong. And he just like spun around and like poked me in the chest like a cartoon character, and was like, "No, look me in the eye and tell me he was wrong and I'm right."
Well,
and
I remember this argument.
I'm not gonna do that. Yeah.
It was about whether America was like a legit democracy or more like an oligarchy.
We're a perfect democracy.
And of course we're not.
We're not a perfect democracy. Yes, we are. And I'm like, no, we're not.
If we were a perfect democracy, we wouldn't. This podcast wouldn't need to exist.
Right. Exactly. And so like, and he just like freaked out and was like, "No, look me in the eyes and tell me we're a democracy." And I'm like, "I am going home. You are insane and drunk." And he just like freaked out. And like, that's when we broke up, when I was like, okay, we cannot do this anymore. This has gone on too long. But there were like so many other things throughout then that like definite narcissist, like just a total gaslighter.
Yeah.
Like, and it was, really an interesting experience looking back.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like any guy I've dated that was shitty, you know, any guy I've dated that was shitty, not necessarily all narcissists, but just like not good boyfriends, or not good marriage material, or not good people, or not a good match, or whatever. All of them, again, I was at a vulnerable place in my life when I started dating them. I either like had a broken hip, or had just like, you know, experienced some kind of like traumatic event in my life or my family. With every single one of them. Narcissists.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Have you ever dated a Trump supporter?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not since Trump has been in politics necessarily. The narcissist, his dad was a huge Trump supporter.
That makes sense.
His dad was a huge Trump supporter. He was, I don't know, I don't even know if he voted that year. If he did, it was probably for Gary Johnson.
I have an ex who was super religious, who couldn't bring himself to vote for Clinton, but does hate Trump, which I give him some credit for. So he voted for Gary Johnson, but like Illinois went to Clinton no matter what. But I did in 2016, I was dating a Trump supporter. It was like a really hard time.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't like, we'd started dating like a year and a half before that, when like it wasn't even a thing. Like Trump wasn't even running for president at the time. And then like as we were dating, he like turned into a Trump supporter because he lived in a house with 8 other guys and 7 of the 8 of them were Trump supporters. And I was just like, who are you turning into? And then obviously eventually we broke up, but that's the evangelical.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's, yep. Shocking. This is brand new information.
Yeah. All right. So we're not fucking Republicans anymore. No more.
Nope. I mean, even the cop that I dated doesn't like Trump.
Great. Good. He can have 1 bonus point.
Yeah. As I will say, as far as cops go, he's one of the like decent ones in a system that's just like institutionally like real shitty, which is definitely something we can talk about.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I was going to say, we have like, I have a Google Doc with like 40 ideas in it. Like we have trouble every week deciding what we're going to talk about because it's like, man, there's so many things that are shitty in the news that are like, we can relate back to like a topic that people don't know enough about, that we like legit have a hard time picking what we're going to talk about. And if you have any ideas, you should send it to us on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, yes, please do.
Yeah.
We did get one suggestion.
Really?
To talk about how to knit.
Okay. I can knit.
Social distancing. And I was like, I am the last person that you want to give any sort of knitting advice. We had to sew something when I was in youth group. It was like a little craft we were doing for Mother's Day. And I didn't even put thread in my needle because I can't do crafts to save my life.
It's hard to thread needles. Like, it's okay. Don't worry.
So you just put the needle through the thing and it's fine if there's not thread. It just will fall apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want me doing crafts.
I can knit. I don't know. I'll think about it. That was not the suggestion that I was expecting.
I know. It was amusing.
That is amusing. Well, can I share what I've been more like active this week? I was having like a real hard time last week, but I have like, I don't know, I guess like steeled myself that like this is just this is like the new normal and like we have to proceed. So one of the things that I did that is really easy that everybody can do, you can text PPE to 50409, which is resist bot, and that will send a letter to your representative. So both of your senators and your House rep, demanding personal protective equipment for frontline workers, for like doctors and nurses and stuff. So that is one really, really easy one. PPE to 50409. And then I also signed up for something called Project Payback, which is an attempt to take back the Senate in 2020. So you can sign up for, you just Google Project Playback, and then you can sign up for it. And then there are different trainings that teach you how to text voters in swing states to try and flip them blue. There aren't any trainings scheduled right now for the like near future, but I signed up for that. So when there's the next training, I can sign up to do texting to swing states. I honestly don't think I have the balls to call, but I think I can do texting. So yeah, Project Payback is a cool one. And then I also found something called Chicago COVID-19 Mutual Aid Sign Up. So if you just Google that, Chicago COVID-19 Mutual Aid Sign Up, you can click on the first link and it has a lot of information, but the very last link on that page is you can sign up to do mutual aid for other Chicagoans. So that might be picking up groceries for people who are immunocompromised or delivering packages for whatever. It's just, there's a lot of different options. Living with an immunocompromised person, I probably am like not really going to be super helpful, but I signed up anyway just to see what kind of opportunities were out there. I mean, some people just need like money, like they lost their jobs and they need money. 3 million people applied for unemployment this past week, 2 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people need help. And so that's just for Chicago, but there are probably mutual aid signups wherever you live. So do a Google search and just see what you find. Because that, I don't know, has relieved some of my anxiety too. And I hope next week to get back to letter writing to swing states because that is kind of actually soothing. So that's with Vote Forward, if you guys want to get started with Vote Forward too. So yeah, those are my actions. Those are my political actions that make me feel better.
Any non-political things that make you feel better?
Did you see that Amy Klobuchar's husband has been released from the hospital?
I did. That made me feel so much better.
I know, me too. I know I texted you about this, but I like one of the first things that hit me like actually hard was finding out Amy Klobuchar's husband was on a ventilator. Like it was just, I don't know. It just made it like weirdly real. Maybe I was just like very sad at the time, but I was like, no. But yeah, that made me really happy. Walking my dog has been really happy, or has made me really happy. My stepdad walks him like twice a day, and I've been trying to make myself go with him at least one of those times. I actually failed today. Dang. I went on a bike ride yesterday. But yeah, and on those walks, there's like such uplifting children's sidewalk chalk.
It's so precious. It's giving me so much joy.
Me too.
The
like
sidewalk chalk.
It made me unreasonably happy. Like I was just like, oh, we'll be okay. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I have been loving the sidewalk chalk out. I see it out a lot too.
Yeah.
And I don't even live like where there's a lot of kids. Like there are not a lot of kids downtown. I mean, so yeah, that's made me very joyful.
Yeah. Anything else? You got any other happy distractions?
You know, now that I am done with the Tiger King binging,
I still have to finish it.
It's great. I've been watching a lot of Dairy Girls. It's so funny. It's Dairy, Derry Girls on Netflix. It's about teenagers growing up like during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and it's so funny.
It's also, I think, recommended by Karen Kilgariff. So if you don't want to trust Morgan's recommendation, Karen Kilgariff also likes it.
And like, I'm a Karen, so you should listen to me. Also, like, I have this like secret universe in my mind where like my mom and Karen Kilgariff like grew up as best friends because they're pretty similar in a lot of ways, and also they're born literally only 3 days apart.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, it's like they would have been very good friends if they had grown up near the same place, but they didn't. And also maybe like you know, my mom just like ended up being a mom when she was like 18, 19 instead of Karen,
right.
a comedian. But you know, otherwise like they still would have like totally hit it off. I have a feeling. So yeah, so it's really funny and I highly encourage people to watch it. Some people have a hard time understanding their accents. I don't. I think it's great, but I guess just like turn your volume up on your TV or your closed captioning on or something. Yeah, it's where like some of my dad's like family actually like immigrated from. So maybe it's just like I have a natural born instinct. To, you know, understand the accents.
I should watch it and do an experiment because some of my family is from Northern Ireland too. Maybe we're related.
Like, yeah, we could be related, or at the very least, like, what if our like great grandmothers were friends too?
Oh, we should find out. I have like, or at least my mom has done like some extensive Ancestry.com stuff.
Yeah, I'll do an Ancestry.com spit swab thingy.
Sure. Oh,
I bet they haven't shut down and made the coronavirus.
Maybe they should.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe they'll like be testing for coronavirus. Who knows?
Oh my god! Yeah. Maybe they could add
that
faster
to their Ancestry plus health.
Yeah.
Mad.
Do you got any self-care that you've been keeping up with?
Washing my hair?
Oh my god, yes.
Like, it's a lot of work. I have very long hair, and I have been washing it at least twice a week.
Yeah. Oh my god. I don't know how I used to do it. I used to wash it every day.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, girl, no. Oh, wait, when you were swimming, I bet you had to.
Yeah. But even when I was like working out every day, I would shower after I worked out. That seems like so long ago.
Like I'm taking the same number of showers. My petty complaint is that even though I'm taking the same number of showers as I always have, somehow I think like I have a smell that I don't remember ever noticing on myself before. I'm like, do do I smell? Like, what is happening? I'm getting kind of comfortable with my smell, but I'm also like, is this just because it's just me being trapped indoors and at home so much that it's actually just my environment is starting to smell more like me? Am I just that bored? I don't know. But like, I feel like I have a smell, but I really have kept up the same hygiene as self-care. So I don't know. But also,
I have no ideas. I have no suggestions.
I don't know what it is. I haven't changed my dry shampoo or I haven't changed any routine. I don't know what it is, but it's weird and I hate it. And I'm thinking about chopping off all my hair though, because
I've been thinking about it too.
It's such a pain.
Yeah.
I could donate it to Wigs for Kids.
Yeah. What was I going to say for self-care? I did have one. Damn. I got to think of something. I'm gonna
can you give a squeaky corner update?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, so our new foster cat, Squeaky, is like the shyest cat. She still has not come up from the basement. Like, she has not acclimated to the rest of our house. I think she's afraid of the dog and the cat, which, like, I get, but she eats her food and stuff, but, like, yeah, she is so shy. She never, like, comes out of her little hiding spot.
Aww,
yeah, but
shy Squeaky.
Yeah.
Anybody in the Chicago area want a very shy little kitty?
Yeah. I'll try and get a picture of her. It's
hard.
I mean, I've been getting enough sleep. That's good.
Okay, that's really important to self-care. Like, your emotions are never in check if you're not getting enough sleep. So that's well done.
Yes. And I've been trying to go on one walk a day. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll leave it there and try and think of a better one for next week.
Hey, it's hard in these trying times. Anything counts.
Yeah. A lot of baths. I like baths.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, that's my answer. My self-care has been
like
baths to relax.
For a second, I thought you said bats, and I almost went, oh my God, I love bats too.
I know you love bats. You have a bat tattoo.
I do have a bat too. A bat ass tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, that's not what you said. Also, bats are getting a really bad rap right now, and it's not their fault.
I know.
All
right. Well, you got anything else?
I don't think so. Just follow the words of brown socialist Jesus and don't be a dick.
That's always good advice. Let's end on that.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Don't be racist. Don't be sexist. Don't be ableist.
Don't be xenophobic.
Don't be homophobic. Or
transphobic.
Don't shame sex workers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't be a dick.
Yeah. We're seeing right now what essential workers really look like, and it is grocery store clerks and shit of nurses, doctors. Yeah, so we got to do some reprioritizing of our society, but now's the perfect time.
Yep, exactly.
All right, well, then we will talk to you next time, and in the meantime, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, in the words of Jesus.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Make sure you follow along on Instagram at FYMI Pod. Shout out to Hope Dye for the podcast art and Kyle Dibdahl for the intro and outro music, and Ben Schlofelt for the audio production.
Please subscribe to this podcast, and if you like it, give us a rating and review. It makes it easier for other people to find us, and the more of us there are, the better. We come out with new episodes every Monday.